What is going on, everyone? It's John from randomChievos today, and I wanted to talk about the brand new PvZ Garden Warfare 2 beta that was just released a few days ago. I wanted to take a look at the 6 new characters and their abilities, along with maybe even a few tweaks and ideas that I hope PopCap will add to the full release of the game. Now, being the second installment of Garden Warfare, they have definitely done their job in creating a game that was similar with a very fast playstyle without ruining the core mechanics and still giving us the new characters, features, and maps to go along with it. Something that I really found flawed in the original game that they've completely changed is the ranking system, which I am very pleased about now. The game was way too objective based and never really linked to how skilled the player actually was. You still earn player levels as you level up each individual character, but now even the variations of a class have their very own leveling system. You can earn experience from getting kills and completing objectives just like you would in most shooter games, and you still have daily quests or challenges that you can complete to earn extra coins and even earn XP multipliers. Every 5 challenges you complete earns you a 0.25 boost on XP until you reach 2 times the amount, which would be a total of 20 challenges. Now, I can't say for certain that this will reset because mine has actually stayed the same since the beta began, but I have a good feeling that it will in the long run. You can level up quite quickly on this system as long as you play around and use different character classes and variations. I myself have reached 130 in only a few days, which really wasn't that hard to do. Also, I'd like to point out that each character maxes out at level 10, and then they are given the option of being promoted. Now, I'm not sure exactly what this feature will actually do since the beta will not allow it, but I have a good feeling that you'll go back down to level 1 and maybe get some symbol of some sort that represents that you have leveled up this character or promoted them. Now, if you notice in the recent gameplay trailers that PopCap has released over the past few weeks, they decided on a more interactive approach to a menu system by creating something called the Backyard Battleground. This allows players to use any of the characters they've currently unlocked and roam around freely, going up to different stations to access multiplayer, character customization, and even statistics. I myself find this feature to actually be really good, and once you figure out where all the stations are located, it even seems to be faster than the old menu system. One side is dedicated to zombies and the other for plants, and if you head into the middle and raise the flag of unimaginable power, and depending on if you're a zombie or a plant, you will actually start a horde of individual classes coming out at you in separate waves. It's actually really fun and almost like your very own garden ops that you can just jump into whenever you please. The game also includes split screen capabilities for online play. Unfortunately, in the beta that was not allowed, but I'm really glad this is something that they added because the original game lacked it. So let's move on to the good stuff and talk about the 6 new classes that we have available to play with, and including the original 8 as well. On the plant side, we have Citron, Rose, and Kernel Corn, along with their variations to go along with them. Each one has their very own playstyle, and they seem to fit very well into the game's new core mechanics. Citron being the heavy class with a whopping 200 health, who is very slow on his feet but can make a speedy getaway when he turns into his ball form. With his orange beam being the main weapon of choice, it continuously does 3 to 5 damage to an enemy until it finally overheats. He also has an EM Peach to stun foes and completely disable the Z-Mechs for even a few seconds. And lastly, with his Peel Shield that takes about an extra 100 damage, Citron is definitely the plant to be when surrounded by incoming zombies. Moving on to Rose, she is probably my least favorite character out of all the new classes. Her base character with 125 health is incredibly weak and does very little damage to enemies, and not to mention how long the attacks actually take to reach the target. Her attack mechanics is based on a targeting system, so as long as the reticle is red, her magic thistles will follow the target until obstructed. Sometimes I can't even tell though if the target was actually hit, and I can never take out heavy classes such as the All-Star before they just completely destroy me. She does, however, have the ability to slow down time with her time snare, and it affects anyone in the region where it was thrown. This does make it easier to take out foes, but I still found it difficult against characters with higher health. Her second ability allows her to turn multiple enemies into goats if hit, but I found this attack almost useless because once you deplete the goat's health, the enemy doesn't die, they just go back to whatever health they had before, so it's almost like you're doing nothing but delaying the outcome. And lastly, we have her Arcane Enigma, which allows her to go into a form of just complete energy, which makes you resistance to all incoming attack, and you can even do energy bursts, which do 20 damage to all nearby enemies. Now, her variations, such as the Druid Rose, are a bit more manageable to use and are great against the little imps since they have a low health to begin with, and you can just lock onto them. But I really think that PopCap should revisit the character damage for her and maybe add a point or two and perhaps make the thistles travel a bit faster. And lastly for the plants, we have Kernel Corn, which is the same run and gun character idea as the original Foot Soldier zombie with very similar attacks as well. He fires dual cob busters that do 4 to 7 damage depending on the distance and where the target is hit, but I really feel that this should be bumped up a point or two as well. I found that this character also struggles to take on enemies like the All-Star, especially at close range. The Kernel Corn is a large target, so it makes it very easy for almost any zombie to hit him compared to the Foot Soldier class. Also, the accuracy of his attack is much lower than the Foot Soldier zombie, and between the two, the Foot Soldier should always win in combat. He does, however, have the 3 main attacks, one being the Butter Barrage, which throws a hot potato, marking the location, and then rains down butter on the enemies. Next being the Shuck Shot, which is the same idea as the Foot Soldier ZPZ rocket, and can one hit kill anything except the Z-Mechs. And then lastly, we have the Husk Hop, which propels you into the air and rains down corn on the enemies at the same time, which is actually my favorite thing about this class because you can use it to reach higher areas or even turn the tables on an enemy. I do enjoy using this character, but I found myself switching to variants such as the Mob Cob, which does more damage and far more accurate shots as well. So just like with Rose, I think his mechanics need to be revisited and perhaps done something with to balance the speed of the shot and then the damage output as well. So moving on over to the zombie side, we have the brand new Imp class, Super Brainz, and Captain Deadbeard. Now just like the plants, these classes have their advantages and disadvantages as well. With the Imp, you'll mostly be running and gunning just in hoping that your small size helps you from being hit because you really only have 50 health. The base character has dual Imp blasters that fire incredibly fast and do very good damage, around 6 to 7 per shot. So unless you're a good shot, you might have your work cut out for you when coming up against one of these. The pea shooter is definitely the class that works against their small size since you have splash damage and direct damage as well. So stay in the air when coming up against one of these and you might just win the battle. The Imp has quite the variety of attacks to choose from, including a gravity grenade which suspends you in the air, creating an easy target for you to take out. Secondly, the Imp Kata is a spin attack which hits multiple enemies and anyone that might be around, doing as much damage as the normal blasters would. And of course we can't forget the Z-Mech itself, which with 400 health, this robot machine that the Imps can call in. Now this isn't an immediate ability at the start of a match, it does have a cooldown timer that you have to wait for. Also with every variant of the Imp class, every mech has different attacks, but mostly consists of a long range and short range ability. The base character fires around 20 rockets which do incredibly well with splash damage and direct damage. Also has a Robo Stomp that pushes enemies back and does damage as well. The Imp is definitely a new type of class in Garden Warfare and I'm glad that it was brought in and implemented, but I think they should limit how many mechs are allowed to be used at once. I was playing a game with 6 of them running around at the same time and it really imbalanced the gameplay, so maybe 3 at once would be a good balance. So next up we have Super Brainz, which is another heavy class just like the All-Star with 200 health. This character is actually quite different though and is mostly based on a close range class like the Chomper for the plants. When zooming in on Super Brainz though, you will actually shoot a long range beam that continuously does damage to those being hit, and at close up you can use his heroic fist to inflict 10 to 20 damage. Now just like a lot of the other classes, I really only enjoyed using the variant of this class, Cosmic Brainz, because his long range attack does more damage and is far more accurate. I was never the close-up in-your-face player, so I never really used the Chomper character. Super Brainz does have his advantages though. With his high health, it gives you plenty of time to take out a few pesky plants before dying yourself. He also has a Super Ultra Ball, which does massive damage when directly impacted and still does 20 to 40 splash damage as well. He also has a Heroic Kick, which is similar to the All-Star's Tackle Charge, but I don't feel like it does the same amount of damage, but it is a great ability to have for those near-death situations. And then lastly we have the Turbo Twister, which allows his character to absorb more shots while inflicting damage to enemies anywhere near him. It also slows the character a bit, making it harder for them to get away from the damage inflicted. Super Brainz is a cool character to use, and I really did enjoy using his variants, but I'm not sure he's really the class for me. I don't think anything needs to be changed on him. Adding more damage will just make him overpowered. I just think it depends on the player using him. Last up we have Captain Deadbeard, which is a similar character to the Cactus class with high long range damage and a close-up scatter shot for when those chompers get a little too close. close. With a total of 12 shots in the clip, Deadbeard can do 20 to 24 damage when zoomed in, but can do a whopping 40 at very close range. The downside though is you only have 6 shots at close range since it uses 2 bullets at once. With a solid 125 health, this character isn't the easiest to take down, especially with the abilities added along with it. The Barrel Blaster is a timed ability that allows the player to detonate and do massive damage to nearby plants. I don't think the barrel gives you any more damage resistance, so you're pretty vulnerable when you are in this state, however. Next we have the Cannon Rodeo, which gives you 6 powerful shots to do 50 damage each when directly impacted, and 20 to 30 splash damage as well. I do think this ability should get a bump in damage since you are so vulnerable when being stationary, just to be able to kill the plants a little bit faster. Lastly, we have the Parrot Pow, which allows the player to fly a parrot around and inflict heavy damage on players. With 20 health itself, it will take multiple shots to take this thing down, and make sure you avoid it when it rains down bombs on you. This is definitely my favorite zombie class because I love being able to take out plants from long range. Combined with all these abilities, this is one class that you should look out for and even give it a try yourself. I'm really glad PopCap decided to release a beta for this game. Getting feedback from the community is such a crucial part to making a game that players really love. They have added so many new features in the game that it's really hard for me not to like it, and it just looks amazing as well. I'm glad to see that the characters regain all their health now when damaged, not like half just like the original Garden Warfare. Also, the new statue system located in the back of the battleground is a really neat thing to add. Being able to see all the points you have earned in tiny form, plus they should be able to change once the characters are promoted. I do think the damage system should be looked at again and adjusted accordingly to a few characters. Maybe even reduce some of the damage they added to the pea shooter Gatling gun. It really seems to be a little overpowered now. I also wish that during Gardens and Graveyards and Herbal Assault, whatever team was defending or taking the bases, whoever one took the most should be considered the winner. Making one team have to capture all 6 in order to win seems a little unbalanced in my opinion. I'm sure by now that you can tell that I'm a really big fan of this game and for its simple aspects of being a third-person shooter. It's a great game just to relax and enjoy the competitiveness it has to offer. So I would say this was a very great beta, and I will continue to get as far as I can before it finally ends. So make sure you look out for this full release of this game on February 23rd. I will be surely covering achievements and other aspects of the game, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I hope you got something useful out of this video, so thanks for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day.